Super Rugby and what they could be doing better to help promote the game. I did a video recently about some of the failings for Super Rugby in terms of getting New Zealand fans interested, why some areas of the game were on the decline. Here are some suggestions from both the comments that you guys have made and my own thoughts as to how the game could be doing a better job. So we'll go through these points. I'll kind of give them a rating as to how easy or difficult I think they would be to make. And as always, you guys can let me know your thoughts, agree, disagree, other ideas, and potential side effects of these ideas. Because often when you make any changes, there's some kind of unintended consequence. So there's no one person who's responsible for all these things. You can't just say it's Sanzar's job to fix these things. It's the club, it's the ground, it's the marketing team, the social media team. It's a myriad of things, and nothing would ever be that simple to solve, but we'll go through them and you guys can let me know your thoughts. The first one is to promote the personalities of the players. It's all well and good to identify with a team, but it's often a bit more meaningful to identify with that one or two kind of players who represent that team, right? Kids know it. Kids have all got a favorite player from their team. They all want to be that player. As adults, we don't need that so much, but it's always nice to have that representation of even the opposition. Maybe you don't know all the players on the opposition team. That's normal. Nobody knows all the players, don't think. But you certainly know their top tackler or their quick winger. You know what I mean? And not all of those guys are going to be great in front of a camera, but some of them are, and some of them would. Now, we don't have to go full UFC. UFC does a great job on promoting the personalities. Sometimes that pre-fight stuff is actually better than the fight. But rugby goes to the other extreme of just being kind of grey. It's all a bit bland. Everyone's media trained and they say the same kind of nonsense before each game. They don't want to offend anybody. And that is a potential double-edged sword thing if you do promote the personalities, as you risk offending someone, which nowadays is definitely a big deal. You don't want to be in the news, but maybe it is better to be in the news for something not fairly innocuous, but at least get the guys to have a bit of personality. You've got guys like Adi Savia, he's got podcasts, so he's got something to say, but he's kind of doing that on his own rather than his official capacity as a New Zealand or Hurricanes rugby player. Kotno Skosan he's got a YouTube channel. He's kind of inconsistent. Likewise, Rico Ioane. They're kind of inconsistent with their uploads, but you can see they've got stuff they want to get out there. David Pocock's got his own website doing his environment stuff. So these guys have got voices. I think in some cases it's good to let them be heard rather than just the same pre-match, post-match stuff that we hear kind of every time and maybe get a little bit sick of. So, I mean, how many classic guys have you had in the past? The Honey Badger, that guy's interviews were hilarious. Even if you were a casual fan, you would probably know him because he was a personality. You might be more likely to go watch him because you know him. Carlos Spencer, back when he played Super Rugby, he used to give gestures to the Crusaders fans. There was a bit of tribalism, there was a bit of bite, there was personality. I think that makes it more attractive. When it's all a bit bland and a bit grey, you kind of lose a bit of the enthusiasm to watch it. I don't watch all the pre-match and post-match conferences because, like I say, they can be a bit dry. Now, how easy or difficult is that one to implement? I'm going to give it a green tick and say it wouldn't actually be that hard. It would just be a bit of a leap of faith for the powers that be. It would have to be the clubs, like the franchises and like Sanzar, to give these guys room to speak, basically. I don't care what format it is, but let these guys go past the media training and see what they've got to say. May not like it, but it'll be something at least to talk about, which is what you want. Second one, and Costal Fans. This one was a big theme in the video the other day about dropping interest. Loads of people said, look, I can't justify spending $100 on tickets and food and whatnot for my whole family to go out to a rugby game, a Super Rugby game, when that's maybe the price of groceries for the week. So lowering ticket prices, I think across the board, that would be welcome. That would be a pretty hard one to change, I would imagine, because the grounds have all got their own kind of license to charge what they want to charge. And it seems like as crowds have been going down. The prices have been going up. I'm not sure. I don't have any data to back that up. That's just kind of a gut feeling. But having more affordable food, more affordable tickets, even, man, if you make some kind of smart ticketing selling where you release the first amount for dirt cheap and then incrementally increase the prices, just, I don't know, get businesses involved, flog off tickets to their employees. Whether they go or not is maybe a question. Maybe they've already tried that kind of thing. There has to be smarter ways of doing it than just charging a minimum of 26 New Zealand dollars for a ticket to see a Blues game. Because, I mean, that's not hugely expensive. But again, if you're taking 3 people, plus your transport, plus food and drink and whatnot, it becomes pricey. If you include on top of that the fact that you're already paying for Sky or Super Sport or Fox or KO or whatever it is that you're paying for in your home country, pay TV basically, it does become an extra step expensive. I would like it, and I don't know how hard it would be to implement, if as a Sky subscriber, I could get 75% off for my Blues tickets. Because I've already paid for the game at home. If you want me to go and not sit in front of the TV and watch it at home, maybe you should give me some incentive to do it. Maybe even get to me for free, but maybe that's a bit of a stretch because maybe that would impact the finances too much. But then again, if I'm going, I'm going to take somebody with me, and they've got to pay, right? I don't know. Just an idea. I don't know how hard that will be to implement, like I said. So yeah, cost for fans. And I also reckon to help kind of grow the game for those who can't afford the pay TV, just give 1 free game a week. Put it on YouTube. 1 free game a week. Free to air. Just pick it. It's got to be different teams every time. Game of the week. Put it on YouTube. Some of the YouTube highlights numbers for Super Rugby's channel get hundreds of thousands of views. Put 1 game up free to air a week. Get the people who aren't watching it on pay TV engaged at least a little bit. Give them that outlet. They still stay attached to the game. Maybe when they've got the finances, they'll buy the pay TV package. You never know. Or at least they'll stay engaged with their team or something like that. Keep them engaged with the support rather than just cutting them off with a hard paywall. Anyway, cost for fans. How hard would that be to change? I'm going to give that one a red one. It's a red tick. I think hard. To get all the teams to agree to drop their prices, get better food in, it'd take a lot. There's a lot of contracts in place, a lot of stuff to move around. I think pretty tough. The next one, move the games around a bit. This one ties into that fact that pretty much all the Super Rugby teams represent a region rather than a city. And in some cases, people not from that main city don't feel connected to their team. They may even support a rival team because other than being told, you're part of this region, that's your team, they may not really feel any connection to the team. So also, some people looked at the attendance numbers of Super Rugby and said, hey, you're playing all these games in this one main centre, they don't sell out, but maybe once a year or once every 2 years, you bring a game to this smaller city in the same region and you get a good crowd. Why not do that more? We do it, as I said, here in New Zealand, maybe once a season. The teams will often take a game to another smaller location and usually get a pretty good crowd because the people are kind of starved for Super Rugby, whereas the people in the main centre are kind of spoiled for choice and just pick and choose which ones they want to go to. Maybe moving the games around a bit is a good idea to increase engagement in your entire region, get them convinced that they are part of that region. And that would look nicer on the TV cameras, wouldn't it, to have a nice full crowd. And then maybe in the main centre, having fewer games to go to increases your desire. It's kind of supply and demand, right? You don't have as many to choose from, so you will go to the ones that are there. Again, maybe a double-edged sword if I'm playing devil's advocate. It makes it harder to sell season tickets. Maybe even a full small stadium is going to get fewer people than a half-empty big stadium. There's other stuff going on, but I just think it would be a nice one to get buy-in that it's a team they should be caring about outside of the main centres. Easy, medium, hard. I'm still going to say that one probably tough. Can't see that one happening anytime soon. Up the social media game. Now this one's got heaps of stuff that they could be doing better. The main one for me is Super Rugby's YouTube channel needs to produce YouTube content. If you've looked at Super Rugby's YouTube channel, it's a mixture of, because it's Sansa, it's all Rugby Championship and Super Rugby highlights. That's pretty much it. I sorted it by most popular videos. Highlights, 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 highlights. That's it. Only highlights. But I looked at 5 or 6 other professional leagues around the world. The basketball, NBA, sort by most popular. It's slam dunk contests. You look at the English Premier League, it's like the best 20 goals of the decade, long distance goals. The Rugby League, NRL, which is one of the main rivals, at least here in New Zealand and Australia, long distance tries, and they were promoting like the battle between this guy and this guy, guys I'd never heard of. The personalities, the tribalism, they're promoting that. Ice hockey, it's like weird NHL is always their most popular videos, like times when the referee got hit by the puck or, own goals, just random stuff that happens. Like you could do that with rugby, man. People getting hit in like Falcon, right? Hitting the head by the ball. All kinds of random stuff happens during games. Just knocking on, sitting stuff, or dropping the ball over the line. People lap that stuff up. All that stuff on the NBA channel, on the English Premier League channel, on Super Bowl, Super Bowl, NFL, it's all Super Bowl. All that stuff ranks better than the highlights. Because not everybody wants to watch highlights. Some people won't watch highlights of other teams, but everybody likes to watch slam dunk contests, best long distance tries, weird stuff that happens during games. That's universally appealing. So Super Rugby needs to make social media content, not just be a highlights channel. That's easy, man. Top 10 lists. It's half of what YouTube is, right? Bada bing. That one, I think, is a pretty simple one for them to do. And you can link that in with the personalities. Top 5 Rieko Ioane tries. Top 10 biggest hits from South African players. All that kind of stuff. I think it would get some views. And the social media stuff on the Super Rugby channel does get a lot of views, like I said. The highlights do get decent views on their own. Simplify the competition format. That was one that people mentioned. That one's already done. As of next year, they're going back to round robin. Whether that helps, I don't know. They've had the conference system for a few years. That's turned people off. Whether that's going to make the on-field product any better, I don't know. That was another one that people said needs to improve. That's one you don't have any direct control over. What happens on the field is just what happens on the field. But, simplify the competition format. Is done. The match day experience, that one, that's gonna vary from location to location because I can't imagine that people in Pretoria want the same things as people in Auckland. Some of the South African fans mentioned that in some locations it was traditional to have a braai outside the game before you got started, but they're also, maybe in some areas they kind of clamped down on that thing now. It's not as easy as it used to be. That's the thing you should be encouraging, not discouraging. I know when I was a kid, the game used to be a bit louder in terms of people yelling at each other. Part of that was probably alcohol-induced. So they have kind of gone a bit killjoy on some of that stuff. Fun police. That being said, some people don't want to go to the games because of all the drunken people who, have too many and get violent or at least aggro. So I don't know, man. Separate them. Family side. I think they do that in the sevens, right? The family stand. You can drink on this side of the stand, party stand or whatever. Just do that kind of stuff. I'm not an events coordinator, obviously, but know your market and promote to that market. I mean, as I said, kind of grey with the personalities. Match day experience here in New Zealand is kind of grey. They just blast music at you. There's not a lot in terms of the match day experience. So, I think there's a wee bit more they could be doing better. Some people suggest things like putting on a concert before the game starts. That would be kind of easy enough to do. You could use an MC to kind of help get the crowd into the game. I know they do that in America. That may not work in every market. That may turn some people off. But that's something you could experiment with. I know in Japan, they said you're allowed to bring your own food and drink into the game. That might make more people go, but again, I think in New Zealand there'd be liquor laws about not bringing your own alcohol into the game. But I seem to remember as a kid, I used to be able to take more stuff into the game than I can nowadays. You feel like you're going through customs when you go into Eden Park these days as they check your bag for everything. So more stuff for kids, definitely. Someone mentioned that their kid was more interested in the drone that was flying around taking all the shots of the ground than the actual rugby. Kids, again, they can't, if they're young kids, they're not going to sit there 80 minutes of rugby and just watch the game. They need kid stuff to do. There's all kinds of stuff you could do. People mention fireworks, flags. they're probably doing part of that already, but it could be better. Let's face it. And it links into the cost for fans, the quality of the beer, the quality of the food, all that kind of stuff as well. That's a medium. I think it's going to vary from place to place as to how easy that is to change. But so far, it's pretty average. And the last one, I think, is a pretty easy one. Let the top players play. Centrally contracted players mean their main goal is to play for the All Blacks, at least here in New Zealand. So you take away from having them play in Super Rugby. Just don't do that anymore. Let them play in Super Rugby. If you need to manage their fitness for the All Blacks, give them a bit of extra rest time when you're doing your All Blacks coaching seconds. The Super Rugby teams should be coming in pretty fit. So you shouldn't need to do a lot of conditioning work on them. Just work on the non-contact stuff for a while if you want them to not burn out. So, but yeah, if you're promoting personalities, if you're telling me as a Blues fan, hey, this week we're facing the Hurricanes and Ardie Savea is coming to play, we need our best guys, don't tell me you're resting Bowden or something like that, because that's going to turn me off from the game. So let the top players play. So yeah, like I mentioned, that's a list. Combined thoughts of people. There were other things as well. This is just kind of a summary to keep it kind of shortish. I think the social media one is the easiest one to change. All I need to do is just start editing some videos together with some weird stuff that goes on in Super Rugby, some great tries, some great tackles, and then boom, chuck it on the internet. Heaps of views, get engagement. But yeah, anyway. You guys let me know your thoughts. As I said, any potential negative side effects from some of these ideas, there's definitely going to be them out there. Other ideas that I haven't mentioned, things that could enhance these ones, your thoughts, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.